Figured I'd do a fun little quick video requested by the good old Fiddlebop about the tourney last night that was played against Flash Thunder. So, as you can see here, we've got the IS-4 and Castilla from Fiddlebop's perspective, and I guess we should start with the first game of the two, and we'll go ahead and load that up. As you can see our lineup here, we've got the enemy has two IS-4s, 268, E3, 113, TD, a Vickers, and E50. So they're pretty heavy, especially on the TDs because, I mean, let's be honest, 3 TDs is a lot for this map. Normally you like your heavies to kind of be quicker, and you want your mediums to go hill, maybe to go get A. But let's see what the Inquisition strat is here, okay? So as we can see, we've got ISP taking a pretty quick route straight to mid, hopping over, and the mouse is as well. So as we can see, our friend Fiddlebop here has already spent 30 seconds at least trying to go with this one little hump, but it probably equates to about the same. As we can see, the E5s on the other side are just barely getting it around the corner. In the meantime, we've got the enemy getting A, so he knows there's at least one person over there, presumably an E50M. I mean, that is probably their fastest tank, or their Vickers. We don't particularly know that right now, but we can make assumptions that it's either well, it's not really heavy, it's a light tank or their medium tank. So let's see what happens. As you can see with this strat, Inquisition, in particular the Inquisition caller, good old ISP-99, has got the mouse taking a very forward position at B. And as we can see, there's an E50M just got spotted at A, presumably backing up after capturing A with no contention. And then, I didn't catch if he said it, but I believe that we just saw that Fiddlebop realized that the Vickers had to be the one that spotted him at C, because, you know, the Vickers has got great view range. However, the guess was wrong, because there he is spotted at A. So we know that where the two lighter tanks are on the team. We know where their fast tanks are. So far we can see our mouse has kind of bled a little bit. He's got 2k, he's already lost 1000 HP. And he's fighting two IS-4s alone. So not a very good trade for the mouse, especially with that DPM. But, as we can see, we don't have an enemy spotted, but Fiddlebop here knows that there's an enemy TD, judging by the HE splash of whatever in the hell just hit him. As we can see, there's the E3, took in very advanced position, as we know it's got the new speed boost consumable, so it's pretty quick tank, upwards of almost 40 kilometers. He gets a lucky bounce here. And if we take a second to pause, we can see, here, 1 second. We can see that, nice clear by Fiddlebop there, by the way. We can see that the mouse is sitting here in B. He's lost 2000 HP. And it's very important to notice that he's lost the HP. So now this flank on this side has lost an incredible amount of HP, especially as compared to the E5, the IS-4, the Vickers, and the other E5 on the hill over on the A side of the map. But let's continue to watch the replay and see what happens. There we go, Rhino's got a nice clear on the E50M there. And oh no, here comes the big gun. Slight roll. 20 damage low roll, good. Of course, a stupid bounce on the E3. It's got great armor. Sort of expected, even with the great heat penetration of the IS-4. Then we've got an incredible move here by Fiddlebop to put the heat shell into the weak top part of the E3, which, if you don't know, is an incredible weak spot of that tank. You can HE it very well with high caliber tanks, provided the fact that you do get it in just the perfect spot. Now we can see Fiddlebop here with a smart idea, realizing he can't penetrate the other tank and presuming that the other tank can't penetrate him. They're both one shot, so he decides to just wait it out and get a nice clearing shot into the enemy IS-4. As we can see, we've got Fiddlebop here asking the mouse to please share his HP. He's the tank that needs to be dishing out the... Oh no! Lethal just got full HP ammo racked, but no worries, here comes the mouse. Going to easily get a clear on the E3 here. And yeah, that should about do it for this first game. I mean, not much that I could see wrong. One thing that I will say is, as I was watching this replay before I made this video, I saw that the Vickers was a little slow in rushing towards those TDs that were taking position in the corner of the map, the back corner in the TD bush camping spot. And, you know, as much as the Vickers Light has very little armor, it's still a very good brawler. I mean, it's got the great gun on it. It can high roll, and it's a great tank. I mean, it can sometimes high roll higher than tier 10 heavies with a nice 120mm too. I mean, it's a great tank, and plus it's fast and you can evade shots. But nonetheless, we can see the performance of the Vickers that I was just talking about, and overall, just a great performance by the Inquisition team against Flash Thunder in this particular match. Yeah, so let's get the next replay. So the next replay is approximately 6 minutes later. As you can see, the lineup has actually changed. They changed their strat. And that means that, presumably, Isp, being the caller, might want to consider changing his strat a little bit, but for the most part, we understand that we're going to run our strats the way that they're meant to be. So, let's see what happens in the first little bit of this battle. Now, not being in this game with Isp, I can tell you that I don't know what the strat was, but I do know that this is a map where you would consider running lighter tanks and more heaviums as opposed to heavily armored tanks such as IS-4 that are a little considerably slower than, you know, your Vickers and maybe an E5 with the premium speed boost. But nonetheless, we're going to keep their same strat. The enemy kind of copied our lineup from last game, adding 268. And one thing that I will notice in this game is that we've got an E5 capping a base, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I understand that it might be better to get the Vickers there so he can get the cap earlier, but the downside to that is there's no spotting range on the E5 compared to the Vickers. It's the greatest, it's the best tier 10 spotting light tank in the game. As we can see here, we can penetrate the E5, but you gotta get RNG on your side, and unfortunately, our friend over here, Fiddlebop, does not quite have the RNG. As we can see, the IS-4 is flanking around, might be a good idea, and great play by Fiddlebop here, realizing he couldn't back up too far, else he would risk getting shot in the butt by the opposing IS-4, and just decides to hang back. And a mouse being a mouse, trying to soak up the damage, he drives out and takes about 1,000 damage. But it's a mouse, it's got the most HP of any tank in the game. That's what it's meant to do. So, as we can tell, let's pause the video here and check the positioning of our teammates. So, as we can see, we have spotted 4 of the enemy team so far. Oh, excuse me. We've spotted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the enemy team so far. And as we can tell, our friend Lethal Panda Beast is still camping in the back over here in his 268. Now, keeping this in mind, we can assume that we know where the enemy team is, because we know that from proxy spotting, there's probably not going to be anyone over here near B. I mean, we would have spotted them by now, if that were the case. We've got our 2 E5s. Here, let's pan over. We've got our 2 pretty healthy E5s pushing through their spawn, meaning that there are no enemies in this area. None particularly in, this area. Otherwise, they'd be spotted by Lethal Panda Beast. And we can kind of deduct that all 7 of their team are kind of in this area, which makes this area kind of obsolete. It's great for sniping back on tanks here, although, say, if a Vickers and an E5 were to just show up over here, that would be not so great. So, maybe the positioning at this point in time is a little wonky. But, nonetheless, it doesn't matter for the Inquisition team. They don't need to poke. They've got the cap advantage. They are down by points, by 200, but they do have the cap advantage. Clearing 1 or 2 tanks is going to really make a dent in that and push it in the favor of Team Isopods. So as we can tell, the E5s on our team just got spotted. And one thing that I noted is that their team could be here. And, oh look, there's the Vickers spotted. Great clear here by Fiddle. Just great. I mean, you see the IS5s, or the E5s, excuse me, have just rushed, and great blocking and HP sharing here by friend Fiddle. Unfortunately, he got the low roll there. This is a great rush by Flash Thunder. They easily get the clear on these 2 IS4s. The mouse has no DPM, nothing to do. They gained a point advantage even further, and they're quickly going to solidify their win over the Inquisition. And one thing that I noticed from this battle is that the E5s were pinned down very, very badly by the 2 Object 268s, which were sitting approximately right here on the map as the E5s tried to make their way from A through the enemy spawn and into C to get a flank. What this did for the enemy team was it really left these E5s open to fire from the 268s, meaning that the DPM support was not there for the 2 IS4s and the mouse in B. So one thing that we have to realize is that when there is an advantage, we need to capitalize on that advantage from B. I mean, there's not a whole lot of reason to want to rush straight through their base unless we, for sure, know where their tanks are. And I realize that the E5s did a fairly decent job, but as even Fiddlebop here noticed, the E5s took way too long. As we can see, our friend Fiddlebop here did the 3rd lowest damage in the game, but at the same time he stimulated an advance from the enemies on the other side. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Great job from our caller, ISP99 in the Vickers Light. He came out with 1 frag, and they're almost 3,700 damage. Penetrated 13 of his 16 shots fired. Hit, unfortunately, 2 of them. My guess is it would probably be the enemy IS4s, which are known to troll. But, in the scheme of things, this was a great turnout from our clan, and thank you and for watching this video, and see you later.